Good morning. Welcome at our next talk in the series about why Christianity needs to awake or die away. Today we're going to discuss a very interesting story in the Old Testament, and that's the story about Noah and his ark. We start to embark on a new journey in these videos back into history. So we're going to do today Noah's ark, and then next week we're going to move further back into history so that we can visit all the important stories that are described to us mostly in our Old Testament. So why would that be important? It is important to get to know our history because the moment we start to get to know our own history, we start to get to know ourselves, where we come from, what happened to our ancestors, and what built our society the way it is today. And by describing that and by get into the ancient knowledge about our history, we can get to the point where we actually understand what are our own capabilities. And that is the important thing, because if you want to believe it or don't want to believe it, it's up to you. But we as a species have been kept ignorant and have been kept dumped down in order for us to be like a slave species, controllable, manageable, a species that will obey all the rules that's been put down on to us by the powers of the day, so that we will be obedient and listening and do only as we are told to do. But as we start to develop our own consciousness, we start to question this. And then we start to realize, but there is a whole story behind this, why it came about that we are so controllable and why these forces in power do not want to let go of the power of the day. So if you don't believe that you are controlled, then this control is absolute and very successful. Because so many people would say, it's conspiracy theories, it's a load of nonsense, and all of this ancient wisdom that is presented to us should be ignored because all of this is nonsense and not true. If you're one of those, just go and sit for a while and think if that is really the truth. Because we have all the scientific proof now that the way we live are completely controlled. But we will look into that in detail in future, and how do we come out of that by awakening and by becoming enlightened. In Genesis 6, we are reading about the deluge, or as we call it, the flood, the big flood or the great flood, which only a couple of people, and the hero in our story, of course, is Noah, that only a couple of people survived, and then civilization started over. Now, if you go into Google and you go and search for the deluge or the great flood, it will tell you it happened roughly 3,000 to 4,000 years ago. Because our history has been condensed into a 6,000 year narrative, which tells us that there was evolution over billions of years. We developed from the ape into this human being that we are, and we are sinners and that we don't deserve anything because we are actually ape-like or animal-like. Now that is not the truth. The whole story of 6,000 years has been pushed down into our minds, not only by government and school systems, but also by religion and churches. And we need to get rid of that. Fossils and archaeology teaches us a total different story and a total different truth. Known fossils that we have and that has been discovered and dated include the million-year-old Java man of Indonesia, the fossil of a 500-year-old Peking man, and then in Greece a 300,000-year-old Petralona man. Now these dates are give and take a couple of years because the dating is not very specific due to scientific reasons. But biochemists tell us, however, that we as human beings, Homo sapiens, did not descend from these older fossil humans. We are roughly 200 to 300,000 years on this planet, and we have been introduced into this planet. So if you are one of those that really want to make contact with aliens and want to know what's out there, and do aliens communicate with us, and what is going on, you do not need to look further than yourself. You are the alien on this planet. We've been introduced to this planet. We are not from here. That's why we have 46 chromosomes in our human structure, while all other life on this planet has 48 chromosomes. So scientifically, it is proven that we are not from here. We came here through a specific history, and we're going to look into that because we have the wisdom that tells us how it happened. In Genesis, it's been really dumped down to the creation story and now the story of the flood. Creation story we will get to, so let's focus today on the deluge of the big flood, after which civilization as we know it today evolved into the modern day life that we live. So, in the Ashurbanipal Library, the royal library in the old city of Nineveh, today's Mosul in Iraq, we spoke about this, the archaeological findings. 30,000 cuneiform tablets was discovered there. Most of them are today available in various museums across the world, of which the biggest collection is in the British Museum in London. Now this talks of a Sumerian civilization before the flood, and there's a king's list that drafts the kings back to the first city of Eridu, and then the last city of the Sumerians, Shuruppak. Why is this important? Because it all links up with the flood story. But before I get to this king's list and the cities, let's talk about how the flood could have happened. Just imagine for a while that our solar system doesn't have only one sun. There's two suns. Suns like the sun out there shining on the planet. Outside of our furthest planets, there's another sun that's been caught up within the same structure than our sun and our solar system, with our planets revolving around the sun. Now this sun has also planets revolving around them. And every couple of thousand of years, that sun, the outside sun and our sun, comes at the closest that they can get together, and that pull action has a tremendous effect on the planets around our sun, of which Earth is one. So every couple of thousands of years, there's a disaster on this planet. And it is described that it's because of this sun. So where does this come from? Apparently, billions of years ago, there was a dwarf galaxy called Saturnalia that collided with our galaxy, which is called the Milky Way. And the Milky Way, being the great big galaxy, just kind of absorbed Saturnalia, and it couldn't escape out of the galaxy again. And all that stars and planets and solar systems and everything that's within the Saturnalia dwarf galaxy was incorporated within our Milky Way. And so it happened that there was a different solar system with a different sun that was pulled into our gravity and became part of our solar system. Now that's scientific background. You can go and read about it if you don't believe me, and if it's news to you, good, then you are learning something today, because it was quite news to me. I also believed we only had one sun with the planets around it, but now it is clear that there are two, and the second sun has a big influence on our gravity and on our planet. So if you go and look at the planets, and I put the picture up here, we are tilted. You know, the Earth has been tilted 23 degrees, the axe, north and south axe has been tilted 23 degrees. All of our planets have been tilted in some way. Uranus in such a way that it completely tilted vertically and not horizontally like most of the planets. Uranus, the axis is vertically, and Mercury, the first planet closest to the sun, are revolving anti-clockwise, while the other planets, of which Earth is also one of, revolves clockwise around the axis. So all of that is due to this collision of the two solar systems when our solar system incorporated the second solar system with the second sun from the dwarf galaxy of Saturnalia. Very interesting stuff. Stuff that we don't know anything about because they did not want to tell us this. Because now they come and say, oh, we as humans create a new disaster, which is kind of true because we are not very friendly and we do not look after this planet the way we should. So there are some truth in it, but we're not only responsible for the global heating that is taking place. It's natural ways of this planet at the end of the previous ice age, when miles thick of ice caps melted and created the deluge. There were no humans creating that with fossil fuel engines and things like that, but we are accused of today, and of course we need to pay taxes due to that. But it was a natural phenomena on this planet, and that's the important thing for today. During these disasters, every time that our planet gets struck by a disaster, life on this planet, of course, are deeply influenced by this. And this is what the Atrahasis tablets 1, 2, and 3 of Atrahasis, that was discovered in the city of Mosul at the Ashurbanipal library, tells us. It tells us about the Noah story. Now, we believe that the Judean people, when they were in exile in Babylon, came into contact with these Babylonian stories that was taken over from the Sumerians and incorporated in the Bible. But, of course, they incorporated it in a way by saying the Bible is the truth. Although these stories are way older, thousands of years older than our scriptures in the Bible. So what does the Atrahasis tablet tells us? It tells us about Atrahasis, which was the son of the last king of the Sumerian kings list. And he was king over the city of Shuruppak. Now people would say, oh, it's just mythology, there's no truth in this. But in 1931, just guess what happened. In 1931, the city of Shuruppak was unearthed, and we have the evidence that these stories in the king's list of the Sumerians and Atrahasis is actually true. So Atrahasis was the son of the last king of Shuruppak, and he found relationship with the gods. The gods walked among the people in those days. This is before the deluge. You can even go and read that in the book of Genesis chapter 6. So the gods walked among the men and humans, and so they or one god specifically, really had a good relationship with Atrahasis. And when it became clear to these gods that the next disaster is on its way, they decided to swear an oath to get rid of all life on this planet because it was out of control, they believed. The gods just thought, with the Nephilim and with the giants that was created and with these humans that is so noisy, they just want to get rid of them. So they're going to swear an oath, not warning these people, and they're going to be caught off guard and just be destroyed by the coming disaster. But Enki thought Atrahasis should be warned, and he did it. And he gave Atrahasis also the plans for the ark and say, build the ark, and that's how Atrahasis got onto the ark with his family and friends, and they survived the deluge. When that disaster happened, which was a natural disaster that happened due to the circumstances within our solar system. And the gods wanted to get rid of the people, and some people on higher levels did survive, and then the main group of people that survived was Atrahasis, and they started civilization right from kind of scratch. That's why when they unearthed Shuruppak, they started right at the top, and they dig down. That's the way you do archaeology. So the first civilization was, they discovered it. It was not that primitive. It was kind of developed. Then they went down, and then they found another civilization which was really primitive. Gather, hunters, not many tools, really primitive. And then they hit the void. Now, the void is a layer of 17 feet deep that they went with debris and mud, all the resemblance of a flood or the deluge. And they thought, this is it, there's nothing more. And then some of the archaeologists just left the site, but some kept going. And as they went through the 17 feet of the void, they discovered a new civilization, totally more developed, far more advanced than the previous civilizations after the flood. And that is where they discovered the earthen vessels with the name of Shuruppak in cuneiform on it. And that's how they knew that that was Shuruppak, the last city of the Sumerians, the last city before the deluge. Now, this is archaeological findings. These things, we cannot say it's not true because it doesn't exist. It is true because it does exist. And you can go and do your research and read about this. This is the real stuff that our history is made of. Now, next week, we're going to discuss why these people or these gods wanted the people to be just destroyed and why they swore an oath to keep the deluge a secret. And we're going to look at the Nephilim and all that interesting stories also in the book of Genesis. Don't miss the next story in this very interesting journey about discovering who we truly are, discovering the true history of our ancestors, describing through that who we are and what our capabilities is, and getting away from this control that we live in every day. I hope you enjoy this, and I hope you wait for the next one. See you soon.